Marcus Kane pressed his face against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the massive alien vessel drift silently through the void. The ship was unlike anything in the galactic databases, a sleek, crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around its edges. It had been found 3 days ago by a mining crew near the outer rim of the Kepler system, completely powered down and showing no signs of life. Captain Vera Santos stood beside him, her weathered hands clasped behind her back. She had seen plenty of derelict ships in her 40 years of deep space operations, but this one made her nervous. The vessel was enormous, easily twice the size of Earth's largest battle cruiser, yet it gave off no energy signatures whatsoever. "What do you think happened to them?" Marcus asked, his breath fogging the glass. As the Federation's lead xenobiologist, he had studied dozens of extinct alien civilizations, but something about this ship felt different. "Could be anything," Vera replied grimly. "Plague, war, system failure. The galaxy's full of dead civilizations that thought they were invincible." She turned to face him. "The question is, do we board it or let it drift?" Marcus pulled up his datapad, reviewing the preliminary scans. The ship's hull was composed of materials they couldn't identify, and its internal structure defied conventional engineering principles. Corridors seemed to spiral in impossible directions, and there were chambers that appeared larger inside than outside. "The scans show no biological hazards," he said carefully. "Atmosphere is compatible with human life support. Temperature is stable, but there's something else." He hesitated, knowing how crazy it would sound. "The ship's quantum signature matches theoretical models for consciousness-integrated technology." Vera raised an eyebrow. "You're saying the ship might be alive? Or was alive? The patterns suggest the vessel was designed to bond with living beings, to form some kind of symbiotic relationship between pilot and machine." Marcus gestured toward the alien ship. "If I'm right, this wasn't just transportation. It was a partnership." The bridge doors hissed open, and Lieutenant Jake Morrison strode in, his face grim. "Captain, we've got a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up multiple energy signatures approaching our position. Unknown configuration, but they're big and they're moving fast." Vera's expression hardened. "How long do we have?" 6 hours, maybe 7 if they maintain current speed." Marcus felt his heart race. "We need to get aboard that ship. If it really is consciousness-integrated technology, there might be information about its builders, about what happened to them. We could learn things that would advance human understanding by centuries, or we could trigger some kind of automated defense system and get ourselves killed," Vera countered. But he could see the curiosity in her eyes. She was an explorer at heart, just like him. "Captain," Jake interjected, "if those incoming ships are hostile, we're outgunned and outmanned. Our only chance might be inside that derelict. At least it's big enough to hide in." Vera nodded slowly. "Prep a boarding team. Kane, you're coming with us. If this ship really does bond with living beings, maybe we can wake it up." Marcus smiled grimly. "Let's hope it likes humans." The airlock hissed open, revealing corridors that pulsed with a faint, bioluminescent glow. Marcus stepped through first, his environmental suit registering breathable atmosphere and comfortable temperature. The walls seemed to shift subtly in his peripheral vision, as if the ship itself was watching their progress. Behind him came Captain Santos and a team of 6 Marines, including Lieutenant Morrison. Their footsteps echoed strangely in the alien corridors, the sound seeming to travel much further than it should in an enclosed space. "This place gives me the creeps," muttered Sergeant Ryan Fletcher, the team's demolitions expert. His scanner beeped softly as he swept it across the walls. "These readings don't make sense. It's like the metal is organic." Marcus nodded, running his gloved hand along the smooth surface. The ship's builders integrated biological and technological systems in ways we're only beginning to understand. This vessel might be more alive than we thought. They moved deeper into the ship, following corridors that seemed to guide them toward its center. Doorways opened automatically at their approach, and the lighting brightened wherever they walked. It was as if the vessel was waking up, responding to their presence. "Contact in 4 hours," Morrison reported, checking his communication device. "Whatever's coming our way, they're not slowing down." The team reached what appeared to be a central chamber, a vast space dominated by a crystalline structure that rose from floor to ceiling. The crystal pulsed with internal light, and Marcus could hear a faint humming that seemed to resonate in his bones. "This has to be the command center," Vera said, studying the alien interfaces that surrounded the crystal. "But how do we activate it?" Marcus approached the crystal slowly, his instruments detecting massive amounts of dormant energy. "According to my readings, this system is designed for neural interface. It's waiting for a conscious mind to connect with it." "Absolutely not," Fletcher said immediately. "We don't know what that thing might do to your brain." "The incoming ships will be here soon," Morrison warned. "We need to make a decision." Marcus looked at the crystal, then at his teammates. He thought about humanity's place in the galaxy, about how they were still the newcomers, still learning about civilizations that had existed for millennia before humans even developed agriculture. "I'm going to try," he said finally. Vera grabbed his arm. "Marcus, this is too dangerous. We don't know enough about their technology." "We don't have time to learn," he replied gently. "If this ship can protect us, if it can teach us something about its builders, then we have to try. Humanity has always survived by taking risks, by pushing forward when others would retreat." He approached the crystal and placed his palm against its surface. Immediately the humming grew louder and the light intensified. Marcus felt a strange, tingling sensation, as if something was probing the edges of his consciousness. Then, suddenly, the sensation exploded into a flood of information. Images flashed through his mind, star systems he'd never seen, beings of impossible beauty and wisdom, technologies that could reshape reality itself. He saw the builders of this ship, a race called the Ithara, who had achieved perfect harmony between mind and machine, but he also saw their end. A war with entities from beyond normal space, beings of pure malevolence that consumed consciousness itself. The Ithara had fought bravely, but they were ultimately overwhelmed. Their last act was to send their ships into deep space, hoping that someday another species might find them and continue their mission. Marcus gasped as the connection stabilized. He could feel the ship's systems coming online, its weapons charging, its shields reinforcing. But more than that, he could feel its loneliness, its desperate hope that it had finally found a worthy partner. "Welcome aboard, Starweaver," he whispered, somehow knowing the ship's name. Around them, the vessel came fully alive. The transformation was immediate and breathtaking. What had been a dark, dormant vessel suddenly blazed with life. The walls became transparent, revealing the cosmos beyond. In stunning clarity, control interfaces materialized from the crystalline surfaces, responding to thought as much as touch. Marcus swayed on his feet as the neural connection deepened. Through the ship's sensors, he could perceive space in ways human eyes never could. He saw the approaching vessels clearly now, 12 massive warships of a design he didn't recognize, bristling with weapons and radiating malevolent intent. "Marcus!" Captain Santos called out, steadying him as he staggered. "Talk to me! What's happening?" "The ship. Starweaver. It's alive," he gasped, his consciousness split between his own body and the vessel's vast network of systems. The builders, the Ithara, they created ships that could bond with other species. It's been waiting for centuries for someone compatible. The crystal pulsed brighter, and suddenly everyone in the chamber could hear a voice. Not spoken aloud, but projected directly into their minds. The mental voice was vast and ancient, yet filled with surprising warmth. "Welcome, children of Earth. I am Starweaver, last guardian of the Ithara legacy. Through your companion Marcus, I have learned your language and your nature. You are interesting." Sergeant Fletcher raised his weapon instinctively, then lowered it, realizing the futility. "Did that thing just call us children? Your species is young by galactic standards, yet you show the curiosity and courage that marked the Ithara in their prime. This gives me hope." Lieutenant Morrison checked his instruments. "Captain, those incoming ships have increased speed. They'll be here in 90 minutes. Through his link with Starweaver, Marcus could see the approaching fleet in perfect detail. The ships were organic in design, covered in what looked like chitinous armor, and they pulsed with a sickly green energy that made his skin crawl. "What are they?" he asked aloud. "The Devourers," Starweaver replied, its mental voice heavy with ancient sorrow. "They are not truly alive, yet not quite dead. They consume conscious minds, feeding on thought and emotion. They destroyed my creators and have spread across the galaxy like a plague." Captain Santos stepped forward. "Can this ship fight them?" "Alone, I could perhaps destroy 3, maybe 4 of their vessels. But 12? No. My weapons are powerful, but I am only one ship, and I have slept for too long." Within minutes, Starweaver had transported the chosen volunteers across space itself, their consciousness carried by quantum streams to the sleeping vessels hidden among the asteroids. Marcus remained linked to the flagship, while his teammates found themselves standing in command chambers identical to the one they'd left behind. Captain Santos materialized aboard a ship that immediately identified itself as Dawnbringer. The crystal before her pulsed eagerly, and she could feel its anticipation as she placed her palm against its surface. The connection was gentler this time, guided by Starweaver's experience with human neural patterns. "Welcome, warrior leader." Dawnbringer's mental voice was crisp and military in tone, perfectly suited to Santos's personality. "Your mind resonates with command frequencies. Together, we shall be the sword and shield of this fleet." Lieutenant Morrison found himself aboard Shadowhawk, a vessel designed for speed and reconnaissance. As his consciousness merged with the ship's systems, he felt his perceptions expand beyond anything he'd imagined possible. He could see across vast distances, track objects moving at incredible speeds, and process tactical information at superhuman rates. Sergeant Fletcher was initially resistant when he arrived aboard Hammerfist, a ship whose very name suggested its purpose. But as the neural link formed, he discovered that the vessel shared his protective instincts and his determination to defend his teammates. The ship's weapon systems were like extensions of his own body, and he could feel their devastating potential. "Your species has a remarkable capacity for adaptation," Starweaver observed as the network of connected minds stabilized. "The Ithara took generations to achieve such harmony with their ships. You have accomplished it in moments. Through their shared connection, the human pilots could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. Fletcher's steady determination, Morrison's tactical brilliance, Santos's natural leadership, all of it flowed through the network, making them stronger than the sum of their parts. The remaining volunteers, Communications Officer Lisa Park, Engineer Tom Bradley, Medical Officer Dr. Nathan Cross, and Weapons Specialist Maria Valdez, successfully bonded with the ship's Lightbringer, Stormwall, Lifegiver, and Void Strike respectively. Each pairing seemed perfectly matched, as if the ships had been waiting specifically for these individuals. "Fleet status report," Santos commanded, her voice now carrying across all 7 vessels simultaneously. All ships operational at 97% efficiency. The collective consciousness of the fleet responded. Weapons charged, shields raised, engines ready. The enemy approaches. Through enhanced sensors, they could see the Devourer fleet clearly. Now, The ships were hideous things that seemed to twist reality around them. They moved in perfect formation, and Marcus could sense the malevolent intelligence that guided them, not individual minds, but a collective hunger that sought to consume all conscious thought. "They know we're here," Morrison reported from Shadowhawk. "Changing course to intercept, estimated contact in 37 minutes. Marcus felt Starweaver's ancient memories stirring, recollections of the war that had destroyed the Uthara. But alongside those dark memories, he sensed something new: hope. The Uthara had been a peaceful species, slow to anger and reluctant to destroy. Humans, for all their youth and inexperience, possessed something the gentle Uthara had lacked: the willingness to fight with desperate fury when threatened. "The Devourers have never faced anything like your species," Starweaver observed. "They are accustomed to consuming civilizations that submit to despair. But humans burn bright even in darkness." Fletcher tested Hammerfist's weapon systems, feeling the ship's massive particle cannons respond to his thoughts. "These things have been bullying peaceful species for centuries. Time to show them what happens when they mess with humans." Dr. Cross, linked with Lifegiver, was already analyzing the enemy ships. Their hulls are partially organic. That means they might be vulnerable to biological weapons. Lifegiver has some interesting options in its arsenal. Confirmed, the ship responded. Uthara bioweapons were designed to target the specific neural structures the Devourers use. They should be highly effective. Through the quantum link, all 7 pilots could feel the enemy's approach like a growing shadow on their consciousness. The Devourers radiated an aura of wrongness that made human instincts scream in warning. But instead of fear, the sensation triggered something primal in the human psyche: the need to protect, to fight back, to ensure that the species would survive. "All ships, this is Captain Santos." Vera's voice rang through the network. "Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every conscious being these creatures have destroyed. We are humanity's sword and shield among the stars. Let's remind the galaxy why our species refuses to kneel." The 7 ships moved into attack formation. Their human crews merged with the Uthara technology, creating something entirely new. A fusion of ancient wisdom and human determination that the galaxy had never seen before. The battle began at the edge of the asteroid field, where millions of years of cosmic debris provided both cover and obstacles. The Devourer ships moved with predatory grace, their organic hulls shifting and adapting as they closed the distance. But they had never encountered anything like the human-Uthara hybrid consciousness that now opposed them. Marcus, fully merged with Starweaver's systems, could perceive the battle in 4 dimensions simultaneously. He watched Morrison's Shadowhawk dance between asteroids, laying quantum mines that would detonate when the enemy passed. Santos coordinated the fleet's movements with military precision, while Fletcher prepared to unleash devastating barrages. "From protected positions, they attempt to probe our minds," Starweaver warned, as the first Devourer ship came within range. "They seek to paralyze us with despair before feeding, but your thoughts are spiky, difficult to consume." The mental attack came like a wave of crushing darkness, designed to overwhelm consciousness with visions of futility and death. The Devourers had used this technique to paralyze countless species, making them easy prey. But human minds, shaped by evolution on a dangerous world, had natural defenses against despair. "Is that the best you've got?" Fletcher snarled, his anger burning through the psychic assault. Hammerfist's main guns opened fire, sending streams of coherent energy that punched through the leading Devourer's shields. The organic armor bubbled and melted under the onslaught. Dr. Cross released Lifegiver's bioweapons, microscopic organisms that had been designed to target the specific neural pathways the Devourers used to process consumed consciousness. The creatures that had seemed invincible suddenly began writhing in apparent agony as their stolen thoughts turned toxic. "Impossible!" came a collective shriek from the enemy fleet. "How do you resist? How do you fight back? All species submit. Eventually. You've never met humans before, have you?" Morrison's voice was calm as he guided 3 devourer ships into a carefully prepared trap. The quantum mines detonated in sequence, creating a cascade effect that tore the attackers apart at the molecular level. The battle raged for hours. The human pilots pushed their ships and themselves beyond normal limits, drawing on reserves of determination that surprised even the ancient Ithara consciousness. When conventional weapons failed, they improvised. When their formation was broken, they adapted. When individual ships were damaged, the others covered their retreat. Engineer Bradley turned Stormwall into a mobile fortress, using its defensive systems to protect the wounded, while his ship's repair drones worked frantically to patch hull breaches. Communications Officer Park coordinated with her ship Lightbringer to jam the Devourer's collective communication, forcing them to fight as individuals rather than a unified swarm. Weapons Specialist Valdez pushed Void Strike to its limits, using the ship's experimental weapons to tear holes in space-time itself, creating gravitational anomalies that trapped enemy vessels in impossible orbits around microscopic black holes. Your species fights like no other we have encountered. The collective Ithara consciousness observed with something approaching awe. You adapt. You improvise. You refuse to accept defeat, even when logic suggests surrender. This is why you were chosen. As the last Devourer ship exploded in a burst of escaping psychic energy, the 7 human pilots felt a profound change in their connection to the Ithara vessels. What had begun as a temporary emergency measure had evolved into something deeper. A true partnership between species separated by millions of years of evolution, but united by shared values of curiosity, protection, and the refusal to bow to tyranny. "Fleet status report," Santos commanded, her voice tired but victorious. "All ships operational. Minor damage to Stormwall and Lifegiver, already under repair. Enemy fleet completely eliminated with no survivors." Marcus felt Starweaver's satisfaction, mingling with his own. Through the quantum link, he could sense similar partnerships forming across the small fleet. The ships were no longer just borrowed technology. They had become extensions of their human crews, and the humans had become more than they were before. The Ithara dreamed of this day, Starweaver whispered in his mind. A species that could inherit our mission and make it their own. Not servants or successors, but true partners in the protection of conscious life. "What happens now?" Dr. Cross asked, his voice carrying across the quantum network. Marcus smiled, feeling the vast database of Ithara knowledge still flowing through his consciousness. "Now we go home and tell humanity about their new responsibilities. The galaxy is full of young species that need protection, ancient mysteries that need solving, and devourers that need stopping. The Federation is going to have a lot of questions," Morrison pointed out. Captain Santos's laughter echoed through the fleet network. "Let them ask. We'll have some interesting answers." She paused, looking out at the stars through her ship's enhanced vision. "Besides, I think it's time the galaxy learned what happens when you give humans starships that actually understand us." The 7 vessels turned toward Earth, carrying within them the seeds of humanity's transformation from a minor galactic species to the inheritors of an ancient legacy. Behind them, the asteroid field drifted peacefully once more, but now it guarded the promise of a future where consciousness would never again go undefended. In the depths of space, other Ithara ships stirred in their long sleep, sensing that their wait was finally over. Humanity had come to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.